Let's pretend for a second that this is you. You've had a nice fancy camera for a few months, and that camera came with a little kit zoom. Now, in the time that you've had this setup, you've been perfectly happy with it. It takes much nicer photos than your iPhone, and you're having a really great time. But then one day, you find yourself on Reddit, and you see a snotty comment that says, "Real photographers would only ever use a prime lens. You'd never see Henry Cartier-Bresson walking around with a kit zoom, would you? That's ludicrous." And then you think to yourself, man, do I need a prime lens? What even is a prime lens? I better go back on Reddit and figure that out. So you start frantically Googling things and getting drawn into endless forum discussions of all the thousands and thousands that are available at literally every price point from 30 quid to the price of a new car. And after all of that research is done, the only thing that you've realized is that the general definition of a prime lens is a lens that doesn't zoom. But in terms of which one you should be buying and what's going to help your photography reach the next level, you're completely and totally lost.
And that's why I'm here to help. Because a few years ago, that was the exact same situation that I was in. So in today's video, I'm going to give you all of the advice that I wish that I'd had back then, and hopefully we can get you on the path to making the right decision for you.
No, but really, fun intros aside, if you are starting to get more serious about your photography journey, then a prime lens is something that you should at least be considering. It's not absolutely essential, and a lot of people are perfectly happy just using the kit zoom that their camera came with, but if you get a nice prime lens, you'll be getting something that's smaller, better in low light, and with substantially better image quality. So if you are thinking about pushing your photography into a professional direction, then a good prime lens is something that's really going to help you on that journey. Now, once you have decided that you do indeed want a prime lens, the most important question to ask yourself is what the focal length should be. Now, luckily, there's a really easy way to find that out, and we can do it using the gear that we already have. What I want you to do, and I do literally mean do this, literally as soon as you finish this video, open up a new tab and go and do this. You go through your existing photo library. You pick out all of your favorites, maybe do a top 10, top 20, top 50 even, or just go through the ones on Google Photos that you've starred, or the ones on your Apple Photos that you've given a little heart to, or maybe just everything that you've posted on Instagram if you decided it was good enough for the grid. Once you've got a collection like that, you're going to go through the metadata of all of those photos and write down what focal length your zoom lens was at when you took that photo. Chances are you'll start to spot a pattern. See, when I did this a few years ago, almost all of the photos that I ended up really loving, like the ones that I thought were an absolute 10 out of 10, almost every single one was at or around 50mm. So the obvious choice for me was to buy a 50mm prime lens, and that's exactly what I did. This method might seem too simple to be true, but it really does work. Focal length on a prime is such a personal decision that you can't have anyone else make that choice for you. So if you're going and looking up lists that go, oh, here's the best focal length for beginners, that doesn't matter. Because the best focal length is the one that most closely matches how you see the world and the type of photography that you like to make. And the only way to find that out for sure is to go through your collection and see which focal length you are most naturally drawn to. Because when you're using a zoom, you're going to set it to the focal length that ends up looking best for you. And there's a good chance that that will be around one of the common focal lengths for a prime. So a 35, a 50, maybe a 28 if you love wide-angle landscapes, that sort of thing. Either way, that is the most important decision to make when you're shopping for a prime, so that is definitely the first step to do. A really important benefit of a prime lens is that the aperture can open up super wide. That means it's better in low light, and it's better for getting more of that sweet, delicious bokeh. If the widest possible aperture is everything that you care about, then that's great. But before you jump right in and buy one, think about the other thing that prime lenses can give you as well. See, if you don't want something that's got a super wide aperture, like maybe you're happy with an f2 or an f2.8, you can get a much smaller lens. And what that means in reality is that it's easier to fit in a bag, it's easier to travel with, it's lighter if you're wearing it around your neck when you're out all day, and it's much less conspicuous if you're trying to do candid street photography. As with everything here, it all comes down to what you're trying to achieve. If you want a portrait lens that's going to open up to f0.95 and completely obliterate the background of anyone you're taking a photo of, then by all means go ahead and get one. I'm sure they're a ton of fun. But I personally think a good starting point would be looking at something that's around f2. It doesn't let in the most amount of light, but it's still very good, and it's going to be really small and easy to fit in a bag. It totally does depend on your use case, but personally that's where I would start. Now, as with most things in life, a big question you have to ask yourself here is how much you want to spend. Luckily, this is another area where choosing to buy a prime lens gives you an absolute ton of options. I'd say that there's 3 distinct price categories here. If you're on a really tight budget, you can look at brands like 7 Artisans and TT Artisan. They make a lot of manual focus only primes that have pretty good image quality, pretty good build quality, and are very good value for money. They're not the absolute best lenses in the world, but they're also incredibly affordable, and they definitely punch above their weight in terms of what they can achieve while only having to spend about £100. One step up from that in the mid-tier are lenses from companies like Viltrox, Sigma, and Tamron. They're not quite as nice as what we're going to talk about in a minute, but they are certainly very, very good lenses, and even if you're using them for professional work, they are still going to be pretty much flawless in almost all situations. But of course, if you want the absolute best of the best, you kind of have to look at the first-party lenses. Those are the ones that are from the same company that make your camera, so they are going to complement each other flawlessly and are going to deliver absolute optical perfection. You will pay a premium for these, but if you want something that's going to be flawless in all situations and something that you can rely on no matter what, it really can be worth spending the extra money. Of course, the other thing to consider is buying a used lens, or maybe even buying a vintage lens and adapting it to your modern camera. And if that sounds like something that you're interested in, I did actually make another video about that recently, so check that out after you watch this one. Oh, and one more thing to mention, if you're a billionaire and you're watching this video, then just go right ahead and buy that £11,000 Noctilux. I promise you won't regret it. And in fact, maybe you'll like it so much that you can buy one for me as well. I mean, who knows? One last thing to consider is the features that you want the lens to have. And again, this is all going to come down to personal preference, but as a starting point for a checklist, my preferences are a nice physical aperture ring with nice clicks between the stops. It makes it much easier to use. A metal construction. Plastic does save a lot of weight, but personally I just love the feel of a metal lens. Weather sealing, it's nice to have if you're caught in the rain. I don't have this on all of my lenses, it's not something I consider essential, but it is definitely nice to have. And if the lens that we're talking about is manual focus only, I want to make sure that the focus ring has got a fairly small focus throw and has hard stops at both sides. And again, all of that is personal preference. If your list of requirements looks completely different to mine, then that's fine. In fact, that's good, because if we all liked the same thing, there would only be one lens in the world, and it would be very, very boring. The whole point of thinking about this is to think about which features on a lens are must-haves for you, and which ones you're okay to compromise on. For example, you might not care about weather sealing at all, because you never want to go out in the rain anyway. Or you might prefer a plastic construction because it saves a bit of weight when you're carrying it around all day. It's not about what I like, it's about what you like, because this is your lens. And really, I think that's quite a good summary here, because the best prime lens isn't something that anyone else can decide for you. It has to be your decision. But I hope this video has helped give you an idea of the sort of questions you want to be asking. Go through your photos and find out what your most used focal lengths are, have a little checklist of the features that are the most important, and then think about your budget. And once you've got all of those questions answered, that's when you can really start to do your research. I really do hope that you find something that makes you happy, because the most important thing in choosing a prime is that it's going to be something that will inspire you to go out and take more photographs. It's no good having something that looks great on paper if you don't want to use it. That's no good for anyone. So let me know in the comments what you're thinking. Are there a few lenses that you're debating between? What stage of this process are you in? Have you already made your decision? And are you happy with what you chose? Whatever the situation is, I really do want to know. And of course, remember to subscribe, remember to like the video if you've enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, have a great day. I'll see you later.